Okay, let's call the October meeting of the Natural Resources Committee to order now. Clerk, please do roll call.
Carol,
Here.
McKee,
Here.
Hendricks, Gill,
Here.
Woodhouse,
Here.
Fleming,
Here.
Brookins.
Here.
You have all present, you have quorum.
Good. You confirm the. October meeting is off the minutes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, the meeting is about.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve our agenda for the day.
I'll make a motion. Or I got it. Whatever.
All in favor of the agenda as listed, say aye.
Aye.
Also need a motion to approve our minutes from August.
I'll make that much.
Okay, we have a motion from second.
Who was the second?
Brown. Okay, any discussion on that? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, number 6 on our agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comment? We're just waiting for the petition. Which is what we're gonna do now. This is the most zoning petitions in a month I've seen since I've been here. So we've got a lot to cover. Just be patient, but we'll try to get through them all. The first one on the list is the Twining petition, Town of Richmond. Katrina, could you give us the background on that?
So they're splitting off roughly 2.1 acres from family farmland and going to be rezoning it to residential one for residential use.
And is someone here from the Twining? Do you guys have anything else you want to add to that?
Not unless anybody has questions. Hi, Derek.
I do have one question. I was wondering how much acreage was left in the parcel if this is getting taken from. Do we know that?
I mean,
You-
we,
A lot.
a lot. I mean, we own like
Yeah,
about
or-
300 acres total out there.
So
So,
it's more than 35 acres remaining.
yes,
That's the main thing I wanted to check on.
yes.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions on this one?
I have a comment, I guess. On the form, the petition form, it says 2.35 acres. But you just stated 2.1, which is also what it shows on the diagram.
Yeah, I think on the survey, the surveyor, I guess that's something about how the measurement had to be up into the center of the road. And that was the 2.35, I believe, on the survey that we provided to Katrina. And I believe the actual land is like 2.1. So that was the
Yeah.
discrepancy between the two
Okay.
In other
figures.
words, they include the right of way, but.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, because technically you own to the middle of the road, but that, yeah.
All right, any further discussion? So we need a motion to approve this. Ricky?
I'll second
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So that one. Okay.
Yep.
Whipperforth, am I pronouncing that right?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it up on the screen there. You guys want to look at it? Again, you want to go over this one?
So this is the remaining parcel from the 3.33 acres that was surveyed off from the last meeting. And we just asked that they get the remaining parcel rezoned to ag residential because it is less than 35 acres.
Okay. Did you guys want to add anything else?
Yes, I would, Raymond Schmitz, I'm the grandfather of Rowan, and I bought, 3 acres from Rowan to build a house on. And this has been kind of confusing from the beginning. I hired Driftless Area LLC to do the survey for us. And, Rowan's name and my name were on the rezoning petition for the 3.33 because we didn't know when the real estate transfer would take place. So we wanted both of our names on there to not, I suppose, halt things. So, partway through the survey, I had, a surveyor from Driftless, who is the county surveyor, do the work. And partway through, he was notified that, not only did the 3.33 have to be rezoned, but the remaining acreage of 22 or 23 acres had to be rezoned also. Rowan did not request that his remaining acreage be rezoned. But Driftless sent $500 from me to the county, plus another $500 from me for Rowan to the county to get that acreage rezoned. So I've got $1,000 in that rezoning. And I understand that any acreage under 35 acres that is ag forestry now is considered ag residential. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I think when I walk into the zoning office and ask for a zoning or a building permit, they would say, well, Mr. Schmitz, your land is already ag residential. Why am I getting charged for rezoning?
Because it was never, we don't automatically rezone things. It has to go through the rezoning process. But by state law, it has to go through the rezoning process, which means you have to go to.
Okay,
And I don't know why it was not rezoned in the past. We are trying to catch up to with there's a lot of parcels that are zoned incorrectly.
yes.
And so we're working on trying to, as people come in, trying to fix those issues, given the right zoning district.
I understand, but the county rezoned that land to ag residential without the property owners even knowing it.
No, it was not rezoned. It was zoned ag forestry. That parcel was, the whole parcel, and you bought off part, that's why it was zoned to parcel that was left is still zoned ag forestry. And it's not in the correct zoning district. It needs to be in the ag residential zoning district because it's less, and it should have been done that when Rowan bought it, that's when it should have been rezoned from ag forestry to ag residential because it was less than 35 acres.
Well,
But he has to petition to do it.
I understand, but whose mistake is that?
I don't know.
Well,
See,
let me add to that. It was the county's mistake at some time in the past.
Right.
yes,
But what we've got, like Kathy said, it turns out we do have a number of parcels that aren't the right size for the classification and how it happened, again, we don't know, but we're going to try to correct as new rezoning petitions come up. So, in other words, when a division happens and one of the parcels goes below 35 acres, it's not automatically turned into ag residential. There has to be a rezoning petition to do that. So it's important. And those were not done completely in the past. And you've had the bad luck of us trying to get things doing the right way now.
okay.
And
So-
so sometimes what happens if there's nothing being built out there, like Rowan didn't build anything out there at first. He just bought the land and it was, but nobody, we don't, as much land sales that goes through, we don't know. We don't go in and check and see, okay, what is it zoned at? Get a hold of them that they need to rezone it. So that's why as people go to get a permit for something else, we're going to fix those as we go.
Okay, so I want to get back to those two $500 charges. I think the maximum I should be charged is for one on the whole parcel, rather than splitting it and hitting me with two. I think that's only fair, because I think, Katrina, you mentioned that that was done in the past, that a parcel of less than 35 was rezoned and then broken off from. So my 3.33, if the entire 27 was rezoned initially, I wouldn't have a charge on that 3.33. So I think that's a reasonable request to the board, that I be charged for one rezoning rather than two. And I'd like to have $500 refunded from the county to me that you have. I paid it, but I think I should have it back.
Mr. Chair, my question would be, what does the ordinance say and what does it allow for?
I was just getting ready to say, I think we have several other things we've identified in our zoning ordinance that we need to go back and adjust. And this is another one we need to look at. What's fair? If we're gonna try to correct things as they come up, why are you shouldering all of that? So I can't tell you officially now that we're gonna fix it, but we need to have it on our agenda to get that ordinance fixed. And hopefully at that point, we can reimburse.
Yes.
Yes.
So, you know, with item number 13, we were gonna talk about that. So you're gonna have a lot of this coming up.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I just want this gentleman to know that this is a concern and others have had that. So I think we need to make it clear that we are aware of this and you shouldn't have to pay for something that you didn't cause. It's just what I'm saying, and is that will come up with number 13 when we discuss this more.
Okay.
But I agree with
Thank you.
that.
And that's what we've talked about amongst ourselves too, that's why.
Yeah. Two things. First off, I don't know if we know yet exactly how many parcels are in this situation. We will need to try to get a handle on that. And secondly, it'll take us a little while to get the full ordinance reviewed and reworded, so it might take us a little while, but it's on our agenda to work on.
Okay.
So, any other comments on this one? But in terms of the rezoning petition right here, any questions or concerns? Yes.
So right now, if they get things like that, what are they to do?
Well, he's already paid the petition
So we
fee.
just,
So what I'm
keep track
saying
of
is,
whoever?
as we
Yeah.
get through and resolve how we're gonna do this going forward, hopefully we'll be able to reimburse. I can't promise that right now, but that would be my intent.
I would think we do.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
Thank you.
all right, so, need a motion to approve this rezoning. Gil?
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussions? All right, all in favor of approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Well, got Wallace up there.
I will, when I finish taking my notes here.
So Katrina, do you want to give us the background on this case?
So, just got the survey this morning. So, looks like it's a split off of ag land. Of 10.8 acres to be rezoned to ag residential for, a new residence.
Did you want to say anything about it?
Like you said, it's 10.8 acres. We built a new house on, we purchased 279 acres. We're splitting the 10 acres off. So it's separate from the rest of the tax, as my brother and I both own the rest of the property.
So again, the question I always now ask is how much acreage is in the remaining parcel? It sounds like plenty. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I need a motion to approve this petition.
I'll make a motion to approve the petition for Wallace.
I can just give you a second. Any further discussion on the rezone petition? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, all right, that one's approved. Okay, this one's for, named Gary Manning, and, Katrina, you wanna give us the background on that?
So, it looks as though it's going to be a split. Or is it just I don't think there was an actual split, was there?
No, the parcel is, this is one was zoned incorrectly.
Oh.
That,
Okay.
there's that little triangle and then the bigger piece.
Yep, so we're just rezoning that to residential, because it's less than the 2 acres.
All right, so, are you guys planning on, oh, sorry, did you want to give us a little more background, please?
Yes. Where you see the bigger piece there, that, with my sister's property, that my nephew's here too, it's his mother, probably the mid-70s or so. My father sold or given to her, I'm not sure which, for her to build a new home on. Well, then, my brother-in-law built a shop right where that corner's at, where you see the triangle starts. And by building it there, he had no access to that shop. So David and I got together, and my nephew and being the other side of the road. A few years ago, I sold him that little triangle so that he always knew he'd have access to that property. Now David is selling his property. I bought the property that was my sister's, so we just want to combine it back together. And if that's not confusing enough, I'll talk a little longer. So
Mr.
that's
Chair,
really all we're after, is to combine that. So it's, right now, we can't even sell the estate. We can't even get ownership to it until this is taken care of.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just have a question. So the triangle, the red triangle, who's the current owner of that property?
I am.
You are, okay, which is why in the minutes for Town of Dayton, it approved
Yep.
you. But the rezone is under Gary Manning. So,
I'm buying my sister's to settle that estate. But I also want the property back that I sold him, so I now have access to that shed.
so shouldn't the rezone petition though be under his name? Because he's the owner, and he would be the one requesting that rezone. And then at that point, then you want to sell it to Gary Manning. Is that correct? So this petition, shouldn't that be under Bristol?
I mean, so like with the Amy William Twining one, they don't actually own that land either. They're just requesting it for when they do own it. So I think,
And so you're the one that's paying the petition fee?
We haven't even talked about that.
Okay.
Make sure it's paid. You found paper?
Well, I just was for tracking purposes to make sure records can be followed properly.
Would make things even more complicated. He's selling his property across the road, so he can't sell his existing property. I can't buy this existing property. Nothing can happen. Yeah.
Or maybe both names need to be on there.
and I think that's something that I decided or came across when I was looking through the ordinance is that because there's enough lines down here to have more than one person sign off on it, so
Yeah.
he's
anyway,
requesting it, but
Yeah.
there should be other people saying that they agree to it as well. If
Right,
they own the land.
yeah. To me, definitely the landowner's name should be on there. Or a lot of times they're both at the top. So there's two different both parties that are involved, and this one only has one, so.
Well, then the property I'm buying that was my sister's, she inherited, so it's all actually in your name, correct? Yep.
It's clear as mud.
I honestly don't know. Is the owner the one that has to do the petition or can someone else do it?
I don't remember what the ordinance says, but I think,
I think it'd be the owner, would be the one that would have to do the petition.
I'm pretty sure it's the owner that has to reflect the petition.
I know.
And then they can
spell out when, you know, what those timelines look like, and then what actions are to be taken. And at what point is it egregious enough, you know, because of late as well, we've had to just jump right to serving notices to cease and desist. And we're on the verge of having to get court involvement to get people to cease building actions that they are taking at this point. So we're circling around with Corp Counsel quite often right now, and ways to try to determine how we make it more clear in our ordinance, and then what those steps look like and what those timelines should look like, because they're not clearly defined. And we really should have a very clearly defined process for these items. And so that's something that we've been meeting on, talking about, and, you know, involving Corp Counsel in, so that we can make those suggestions as we're tightening our ordinances up as well.
So there's one more thing then, when we do the rewording of our ordinance that we'll need to be looking at.
Absolutely.
And that will take action by this committee then.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And with those other two issues we had recently that were served, Kathy and I just thought maybe we could try requiring that they receive a placard from our department. Like with sanitary permits, they have to get the placard. It has to be posted on their property before they can come in for a land use permit or start building. So we're gonna try this just as a trial run to see if this helps alleviate, you know, help people understand, you know, I need to have this before I can start. So when people come in, I do tell them, I show them, you need to come back for this. We'll call you and let you know, or we can email it to you or mail it to you. So this is what we're trying.
Because we've had people come in, too many people come in and they sign up for a permit and then they walk out and they think they've got it. And it's like there's certain things we have to look at before we can sign off, making sure there's no shoreline issues. Look at what's already out there, what they've had permits for, before we start just, and we've had a couple people that have understood that that's what they need to, we have to make sure all the i's are dotted and t's are crossed.
They gotta have the permit in hand before they can start.
And they are tending to think that paying the fee and filling out the application means that they have the permit, and that's not true. And then some of them are taking additional liberties and installing far more than what they have a permit for on their land. And then when they've been asked to cease construction, they have not done so. So you know, here recently, we've had a couple of pretty significant violations, and those are the ones that we're working on addressing. And this is what has brought to light the fact that our process maybe needs to be done a little bit differently in order to ensure that compliance.
So in cases where they're not trying to do more than they permitted, but just in terms of just normally knowing what the steps, do we need some kind of a simple little checklist document to let them show all of
We
it?
have a brochure that shows
So
what they
they
need to
just need to
do.
make sure they read it. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well,
I had a former extension agent told me at one point that you can give them all the information to read, but you can't make them read. So that's the issue. You can give them everything they need, but that doesn't mean
Well, and that's where too, I mean, we can do a better job when they're coming in of saying, okay, here's the process. This is what happens now. This is what happens next. This is what the requirement is, you know, and that's all we can do though. Again, it's the old, you can lead a horse to water. You can tell people what they're supposed to be doing all day long, but there are certain people that they don't care. They think it's my land and I'm going to do what I want and come after me then. And unfortunately, that's kind of what we're seeming to be running into right now. And so, but I mean, if we did develop some sort of a checklist like that, and then they initial that we've gone over it with them, then at least they've signed something acknowledging that they have been told that we have educated them properly. And then if they go off on their own and start doing other things, well, then at least we have that document saying, nope, we went through it. They acknowledged that they understood what the process was. And then from there, you know.
And then obviously the biggest thing is to say you can't build until your permit is in hand. People understand what that means. You know, that walking out the door, that doesn't mean they can start building. It means they gotta have that permit and there's paperwork and the application has to be processed.
Correct. Correct.
So we are revising the land use permit application a little bit. So we were gonna add a checkbox on the permit application to check off whether they got this or not yet, too. I think that'll help us more than them, but just if there was anything else you would like to see on that.
Does that permit have a document number on it?
We just so on the front of our folders, we have them numbered. So it would say like 2024, number 126.
So, and that's the application number.
Yep, it's associated with that.
So if you know, just in the sake of making things as easy as possible, if that could be a controlled document with a reference number on it, and then that reference number is part of that checklist, it just lays things out a little bit easier for people. We've seen these things and we understand human behavior, but we also understand we have an obligation to make things as simple as possible for people so they understand the sequence of events that have to happen. It can be intimidating if one has never, we live in this world, but if you've never even thought about what zoning is, it's a whole process. So just to clarify and simplify and, you know, controlled documents with numbers on them, they would know that that is the permit, not another piece of paper. You know, reference, document, number, whatever. Does that make sense?
I think so, yeah.
Would that be helpful? Something like that?
Well, it could be referenced on that checklist that she was mentioning too, and then they could get a copy of that, so they can take that home. We keep our copy, they get a copy of it, and then now they know what steps they have to take.
And I think this just
Right.
highlights a lot of the things that we've been saying, which was our zoning process is very unclear. It's been very murky. It's been very muddy. Certain things are grandfathered in, certain things aren't. It's all over the place. And
Right.
this is where this team has really come in and they've done an outstanding
Yeah.
job of identifying kind of these areas where things aren't working well. And they have a lot of great ideas now about how to clean it up and how to make it right. So, and I think that's very good feedback. Make it as simple as possible for our citizens when they're coming in, so they know exactly what's expected of them and they can just follow the trail.
Yeah.
And I think that's wonderful. And I think that piece of paper that Katrina's holding alone is significant, because if they understand, nope, you don't have it until we give you this.
Yes. And they know exactly what this is.
Yep.
This isn't the permit, this isn't the permit, that's the permit.
Yep, no, I like that, and I think that team can do a great job of finding a checklist that works for both the team and the citizens, and then clearly spells out each step of the process as well.
We had to develop one for land conservation for, well decommissionings or well abandonments.
Yeah.
Because people were coming, they were doing the work and they would say, you need to pay for this. Like, no, there's certain steps you have to do. And we had checkboxes by, and they signed it saying, you know, they knew what they needed to do before we could get to the point where we could cost share.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's what we had to do because we had similar things happen there. So that's.
I guess I have a question with the checklist, if that's kind of something you want to see. So when someone just wants to put up a simple shed, they don't really have many steps to take. So would you want them going through a checklist as well? Or is this more so for like a new residence where they have to get the soil and the sanitary and all these other things?
I think a controlling document that spells out the, you know, paperwork numbers, if you will, or those, and the just to simplify it, because, yeah, I don't know, again, to maybe at this table, maybe we see the process in our head all the time, but we live it as part of our jobs. I think anything as simple as possible, you know, to.
And we can do that, Katrina, we can always put something, you know, if it, afterwards, like the septic not applicable, soil test not applicable. Septic,
Yeah.
and then we can do that. We can have yes or not applicable.
Then in those cases, then they know they only have these 3 steps. Because
Yes.
these other ones
These ones
don't
don't
apply to.
apply to the situation
Like on the
listed on there.
If you said no to this, please proceed to step
Yep.
3, skip step 2 or whatever.
Yep.
Yep.
And exactly what is required to get a permit too.
Yep.
And that's a gray area where people don't know that they need it for
what kind of shed, how big a shed, a pole shed, what type of foundation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's complicated, and the more we can help people understand what's required, that's gonna be nothing but good news.
We won't have to spend as much time in these meetings. Is it anything else, Katrina, for your?
Would you want that checklist to be seen like with the application, on the application, or as a separate thing attached to the
I
app?
think that's really your discretion. What you think is really how, once you put it all together, yeah, I mean, I think you're the one that's gonna be working with it, whatever makes sense. I guess the request is just to, anything to make it simple for the public, simplify it.
I know the previous employees kind of had something like that where they'd put the date of when they came in for the application and then when they paid for it. So I mean, we could start something kind of similar to that again.
You don't want to make more work, we just want to
Yep.
simplify it, so
Yep.
it eliminates some of the confusion. Yeah.
I just have one thing to add. The 22nd, I take my pouts. And the 23rd, I take we take the part 2 of the soils, certified soil tester. So crossing my fingers. So.
Good luck.
So, did you have some conservationist reporting?
Yeah. Corey and I are working on we're working with Landon, I can't think of his last name, Baumgartner, his name is from the state, working on starting a nutrient management class, farmer training nutrient management class. We'll put the information out, I think it's the 5th of November, we're doing the first part, which is they come in, they have to attend all of them to get certified, but it's gonna talk about the soil testing, what to do with the results, what to look for. And then we'll be helping them get their stuff. Like if they have to draw a map, all that stuff, do that ahead of time, and then probably January, February, start actually having them come in and write their nutrient management plan with help from the state. So that's what we're working on. This week, Jen and I are gonna start putting together what we want to have for our tree sale, how many trees we're gonna pre-order, what species and how many, and then, work with the nursery to get that set up, and then we're gonna put it back on Square again. That really worked out well last year. So we're not dealing with the money, we get the results of the money, but we're not handling checks and cash and making sure that the trees are there. We didn't have any issues as far as not getting the trees we needed, this nursery or any of that things. So I think we're gonna stick with what we did there.
How are we gonna publicize that, Kathy?
I put it on our webpage, I put it on our Facebook page. And then, I don't know where else to put it, I don't know how many people read the paper, so no, we don't have to put it in the paper, we can put it in the Observer, but I don't know how much good it does.
I think a lot of people, I know it's a great idea. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to put it on Observer, sure.
I'm guessing your Facebook page probably doesn't get a lot of views, no offense, but.
Well, I will say last year we got a lot of sales
Okay.
off of, it's surprising. The thing is, we went to everything online, so we're not dealing, it's just easier. They order what they want, they pick, and then as soon as the trees sell out or they get low, it's put on the site.
Okay.
So I can put a thing in and then say, you need to visit this to click on the link. Probably the end of November, we'll be sending out our self-compliance mailings for farmer preservation. And including in that this year will be, because they changed the amount of credit per category, they upped it. We didn't have to do it this year, but for next year. So anybody we haven't given an updated certificate of compliance form to, we will be sending in the new ones, the updated ones with this mailing. So like I say, the other part of it, you know, could, I'll probably have Corey come in to our next meeting, in November and talk about how we want to handle, we're gonna start getting stricter on some of the enforcing the requirements a little more. And so we're going to, how we want to handle, because you are you're the board that they come to if they, and you issue like the non-compliance notices. So they would come here, and we'll figure out when we want to start doing that. So I'll have Corey come probably in November to talk about how we want to handle possible non-compliance and when we want to, you know, when we want to set dates to have certain things done by.
Could I ask that before the November meeting, maybe you could send the committee members information on background on that so that they're kind of ready for that discussion?
Yep. Okay, non-metallic mining, well, every year we have to send out, and zoning's already did it, and Cheryl did it last year, but we're gonna have to send out notices to all the active non-metallic mines. They have to send in, they fill out a form and they have to send in a fee. And part of the fee is county and part of the fee is state. So we'll probably be doing that in November. The other big thing is, and it kind of goes to this committee where you guys don't have to prove it. Actually, the Land Information Council has to approve it, but we'll be bringing the land information plan. We're updating the land information plan for 25 through 27. And then everything we do for the land information grant has to be in that plan. So anything we apply for the grant has to be listed in the plan. So.
And what are you asking?
We'll probably, otherwise go through the Land Information Council after they approve it. We'll probably bring it to you more for just, I don't think you have to prove it, but just so that you know what's going on. And we'll probably bring in the grant application in the last meeting in November. I think that has to go to county board.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
Mr. Chair, a question.
Yes.
Non-metallic mines in Sextonville?
Oh, that one, okay. I talked to, Randy Olson was the one that was using it. And I didn't get anything from Mr. Hillsheen, but I sent one to Randy because he was running it. And he goes, Mike told me we didn't need a permit for that one because it was less than an acre. So I looked through the ordinance and it's less than an acre over the lifetime of the mine. Well, they've opened up more than an acre. You know, it's about 3 acres. They've only had 1 acre open at a time, but more than, and so he was he said, I will not mine it after, it was like September 30th. I'm done. But Mike Bindle had given him permission to go ahead and mine it without a permit, so.
That's why it was occurring. That's why, that was the one that's on Old Sextonville Road versus whatever.
Yeah,
wherever.
and Randy had both of them, he was running.
Okay.
So it's. And I don't think Randy would just say that.
I don't think so either.
No, he's not the kind of person, so it's like. I think it was a misinterpretation of the ordinance.
Do we need to make that ordinance clearer somehow for in the future?
No, it says, it's very clearly, it says. Less than an acre over the lifetime of the mine, so if you open it up, you do like an acre here, or less than an acre here, and then you go on to the next part and the next part, well, if it's 3 acres, it's over an acre over the lifetime of the mine. So, yeah.
Why do we not need a permit for less than an acre? Is that?
That's state.
That's a state,
Yeah.
ordinance?
So, but it was more than an acre over the lifetime of the mine, so, yeah. So Randy said, I was planning on not mining there anymore anyway, so I'm like.
Again, it's really cleaning up just past practice and addressing things going forward in the proper way. And, you know, this is what we keep finding over and over as we chat, as we talk, and as we're all learning. And so these are just things for us to address and make clear and ensure going forward that it's relayed properly, that there's some sort of understanding, maybe even a document that, you know, yep, non-metallic mine less than an acre, no permit is needed. But, you know, so again, all parts of discussion that are ongoing as to how we address this, how we clean it up, but we make it sustainable for a period of time, you know, so that people know what's happening.
Well, yeah, that's all of that's true. What I just heard was that that the process was clear in this case, and it's okay because we're judging a person's intentions. So are we judging intentions or ordinance?
No, what happened was it was relayed by the prior zoning administrator that it was no big deal. And so that was an error on a prior staff. So this staff will not make that same mistake. Because that's exactly what we're dealing with here, is the prior zoning administrator said, nope, you don't need a permit. Now, did he relay if you open up more? We don't know that. We don't know what the actual conversation was. We know what was relayed, you know, and that's all we know. So again, we're kind of dealing with an inherited issue and left to clean it up.
And as we're, you know, we'll be periodically checking it as we go in that area, you know, drive by and say, okay, nothing's going on there. Cause it's not that hard to see from the road.
There's still equipment there, the last thing I know.
Right, but he was, I don't think he's moving equipment, but he's not taking anything more out.
What exactly is he mining?
Sand.
Sand.
So will mitigation steps need to be taken place now that it's larger than 1 acre? I mean, this is
complicated questions.
There's reasons for mitigation of.
And I know he was mitigating the prior mine, the one that we initially thought was maybe active. That one was not active, and that is in the active mitigation process. That's something that Derek, I think, could go take a look at.
Yeah, well, we can talk with Randy.
And see if we would have to take mitigation steps based on the volume and all of those things.
Anything else, Kathy?
I hope not.
All right, I guess Adam then.
Yeah, so coming around is just a quick report from some of the activity going on in September. Just kind of broke out by our program areas that we have in the county. Just highlight Beth, who's the regional livestock educator. Been doing a lot of work with doing some articles for feed producers. Her and Anastasia, the new soils educator. They've been talking here in the last month, and they're going to start putting out an ag newsletter for Richland County. So kind of working together on putting some things together on the soil side and the livestock side for county. So that'll be exciting. Sarah Kubiak, who's our human development relationships educator. She came in, I think, in August, and you guys met her. So she's doing a lot of training right now. One of the programs I've highlighted in this document is the Money Matters. So this kind of talk about that program is, but she's been getting training on that. So we hope to get that rolling here in Richland County here in the next couple of months when she's fully trained. So that's really a program for adults to learn about credit scores, reporting, making spending plans, and helping people financially make it through the month. So just a kind of a neat program that's there for them. And then 4-H positive youth development. As you can imagine, September started off bang with the fair and all the projects that went through that, getting through fair, and then now starting the new year, we have awards banquets coming up, record books, kind of the end of the year and the start of the year. So I believe next week is 4-H week. Anyways, so October is National 4-H month. There's also a 4-H week, so a lot of publications, or a lot of work with the schools to try to get youth enrolled. I think our enrollment numbers are going pretty well as far as 4-H is concerned.
This week is National.
This week is National 4-H week. So a lot of different things happening from that aspect. Our Food Wise program, Monica is now starting to work with the schools, and I think she's got 2 or 3 classes lined up to start here in the next month for nutrition education in the schools with elementary students. Wrapping up some work with farmers markets, and I believe over the summer we got EBT into the Mexican restaurant or grocery stores. So kind of a little project that she was able to work on and get just more food access and be able to use some of those dollars available locally. The other thing that's going on is, I don't know if you guys remember meeting Sheena at the beginning of the summer. She is the Food Wise coordinator. So Monica's our local educator. There's a coordinator that oversees 3 counties. That position is open, is vacant. So that's listed now. So if you know anybody would be really good as a Food Wise coordinator and educator for the 3 areas that has an interest in policy systems change for healthy living, active eating, or healthy eating, active living, please send them my way, or you can go to the website. And so we're currently actively searching for Food Wise coordinators for Crawford, Richland, and Vernon counties. So keeping my report really short, since you guys have a really kind of lengthy meeting today, that's what I have. So any questions you guys have for me?
I did have one.
Yeah.
What was the newsletter that's gonna be kicking off?
So Beth and Anastasia are gonna work on a agriculture newsletter for producers for Richland County. So kind of giving some updates on, you know, this might be an animal health issue or management practice, and might have some things in there like what's the new pest or disease and crops, kind of just trying to get a way to get more research and more information from the university out to our producers.
And how will you distribute? How will that get out?
So the primary way they're looking at right now is they're building a list together. So mostly it'll be email or virtual type of newsletter. We'll also have some hard copies that are available. But we're really going to encourage the hard copies that we have. They've been putting URLs on the hard copy so people can just take a picture with their phone and assign and subscribe to that newsletter.
And the other thing, if you wanted to have her send a link to me, then I can put it on our Facebook page. Just say, hey, there's some info, you know. That's another way to get it out. I don't know how many people watch it, but at least we get it out there.
I'm just curious how you create and maintain your email list.
Yep. So obviously, you know, it's varied over the years, based on programs and who historically we've had enlist. Let's face it, the face of agriculture's changed a lot, and who is using extension has changed a lot. So I think that's one of the fun parts about being a new educator. You get to start developing all these lists and relationships. So we'll see. But yeah, there's some historical lists that we'll start off with and those are generally, I think the list that we got in the office is probably 60 or 70 producers already from some just different lists that we've been able to pull together, like who showed up for this program and gave this other program. We also will work with our ag service providers too, you know, like, so feed, nutrition people, crops consultants. Here's a copy of our newsletter. Please share it with your producers. That type of thing.
Okay. Okay.
4-H open enrollment is coming up, right?
Yep, right now.
It's, and how long is that open until?
If I remember correctly, you know, as a new person, new member, you can enroll, deadline is it January?
So yeah, there's some deadlines to enroll them. So in 4-H, it's open enrollment. You can enroll in 4-H from the whole year.
Okay.
County by county, though, a lot of them have a deadline for project enrollment for the fair.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I can't remember what Richland County's is. I think it's one is in December, and then there's a new, if you're a brand new family, I think it's February.
Something like that.
So there's a couple, like, for 4-H in general, that's an open enrollment for deadlines for exhibition at the fair. It's, I think, December, February.
Okay.
So re-enrollment by December something, and then brand new families, I think it's February.
I just wanted to remark that I thought it was in the fall of last year, there was an enrollment drive or something sort of at the library. And I visited, it seemed to be pretty effective. There was people in there doing things, and I know there were some new families that were.
Yeah, I know, we have got it. It starts October.
Okay.
first is it runs like the.
Yeah,
Yep.
opens in October 1st, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And how are you publicizing the Money Matters, the program? How's that?
So that's a program that she's getting trained in right now. And Chelsea did do some of that program. The one that's listed on here was the one that, the educator in Grant County did, and she also had participants from Crawford, Richland, Iowa County. That's why it was pulled into our report. So we do already have a couple of people that are enrolling in the program, as Sarah gets her connections and things. I know one of the places she's looking at is working with the libraries, is one of the places to start offering some programs. Keeping the programs a little bit smaller at first, she learns the program and gets connected with the community.
Maybe the food pantry might be a place or the free clinic might be places where some of these people might get some.
So, yeah, we've done some stuff in the past with food pantries and the free clinic. It's just sometimes the content that we have is longer than people have available while they're passing through.
And also whether they have internet access as
Right.
well, so.
So we've done some things like, Food Wise had mini lessons at one point, so they were like real quick, 5 minutes, little lessons that they would have at the food pantry. So you go off into another group and then we'd do the quick little lessons. So it wasn't anything real intense, and you'd have multiple of them. And so we try to vary how we provide that education, what resources we're providing.
Super, thanks.
Yep.
Okay, number 3 reports then. And
I think the next one, with everything going on this month, I think we wait for the short-term ordinance.
the only question I had was whether I don't even recall if we ever did get Mr. Wendell's input on our wording as it stands now.
That's where we kind of left it last.
Yep, everything going on, I gotta remember to send it. It's my fault. I'll do that when I get back to the office. Actually, I can do it right now, sitting. I thought I did, but I don't remember. So,
All right, so then on to item number 10, future land use maps for the Richland County Comprehensive Plan.
That was supposed to be-
recommended by township.
yeah, that was supposed to be Dan, was Dan on the line? Dan from Southwest Regional was supposed to be bringing those maps, so if he's not online,
Okay, no, so we're not gonna have anything on that.
he never sent me anything, so.
Okay. All right, so right, number 11. The damage report.
Yeah. Damage report. Basically, we have to establish our budget for next year. It's the same, everything is the same. We have some changes going through DNR right now. The director of the program basically took a new job. They haven't found anyone else for both positions right now. So we're just kind of floating and waiting. At least I have a contact person now who I can ask questions to. But as of a month ago, I didn't. We decided we were going to just establish the same budget that we had for this year, just roll it over to next year, that all the same. So the new director can just approve it as it goes through and just. Any questions about that?
I honestly can't remember. Is this funded by the state or is this on our county budget?
No, it's funded by the state.
It's the state. It's an in-out account through the county.
And I've sent in for reimbursement through the end of June, but yeah, I didn't know there was nobody in the position, and so, yeah.
Yeah, basically, the person we think must have taken a leave of absence because of health issues. We don't see that there's any dismissal of her responsibilities, so it's kind of like what's happening now. They're saying, we'll find something for that position.
So again, does that mean we don't need to approve it? Is this for information or?
No, it has to be approved because we have to turn it in by the 1st of November. So we'll turn it into the contact person I have now, so she can put it in the files that it's there when they get the new administrator in.
And can we hope this budget will work for this coming year then?
It is, it's a contract with the county and them, so that's the contract we're signing. So they're gonna have to.
I guess what I'm getting at, who did the estimate, the budget?
Basically, I did.
Okay.
I just did it, we'll follow last year's budget because we've had that for 3 years now.
Okay, and that's, I'm just saying, do you feel like it will be the same?
Oh, yes, I can't see any reason why they should
Okay.
change it.
All right.
And what are examples of wildlife damage that you?
That I'm dealing with?
Yeah.
Okay. For Richland County, I deal with bear, goose, turkey, deer, nuisance of sandhill crane, nuisance of elk. Farmers will call me when they're supposed to call me within 14 days of first damage, so that I can go out there and we can assess what we can do to try to stop that damage to that crop. Basically, we get to this point, I'm getting a lot of calls because the farmers are out in the field seeing they have damage, but I can't do anything with it. It's something they can sign up with, at the beginning of next year, get themselves established in the program. There, at that point, I can, recommend deer permits, fencing, scare devices, whatever we can do to try to alleviate whatever animal is creating their damage. So that's where it starts and how the process goes. I will be seeing you again in February with the claims of those who have met the requirements of shooting this deer. But if they've shot enough deer, then you assessing that.
Thanks.
All right, so need a motion to approve this then.
Yes.
So, right, first and a second.
I'll second.
Any more discussion on it? Any questions? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, budget is approved.
Mr. Kirk, this is the county board.
No.
We don't have anybody with apples in the county program. It just became too difficult, too many obligations.
Yeah, on to lake monitoring, item number 12.
This is a grant we apply for every year. We talk about aquatic invasive species. So clean boats, clean water, checking for signs at the different boat landings, making sure the appropriate signs are up there. Making sure, with the bait shops, making sure that, there are signs up that show and talk to them about making sure people aren't improperly disposing of their baits. Try to do some education. We do some education at the fair. We've been trying to get into the schools. It's a little more difficult than it used. I'm struggling getting into the schools to talk to the students. We did a snapshot day. It was like I and Derek and Jen from my staff. We went out and spent a couple hours out at the kayak landing, on the DNR property off of Highway 80. And we're looking for more people to help us out with this sort of stuff. But anyway, this month, and buying supplies and signs and stuff. So that's what this grant is for. So it's up to $88,560. And DNR requires it goes to county board, so.
What did you say?
DNR requires, all the DNR grants require they go through the county board.
All right, so need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve applying for that grant.
Julie, or Aileen, you second? She approved it.
I'll second.
I just saw her research on it.
First by Eileen, second by Julie to approve the grant.
Okay, any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? All right, that grant resolution is approved. Yeah, to 13, setting the fee for rezoning requests.
I'll let you handle it.
So, as we've discussed throughout the meeting now, we charge the $500 for a rezone when we have a land split occurring. So I'm receiving a certified survey map reviewing it and seeing, okay, now the split is creating parcels that need to be rezoned. So that is $500. And then when I first started and I was, mentioning to people, you're gonna likely have to get this land rezoned. If someone came in for a land use permit and I saw that their parcel was not properly zoned, I was mentioning it to them. And, that at that point they asked, well, what's it gonna cost me? What's the process? And, I say 500 and they kind of wince at it. So when Matt was still here, I kind of discussed with him, what if we decreased the cost of a rezone that's not creating a land. It's not splitting land, it's just someone's coming in for a land use permit and I'm telling them that they need to rezone their land. I don't think they should have to pay $500 for that. So we want to only charge I think it was $125 in those instances, so that we can fix our maps and have people come into conformity with the ordinance, what it says, without charging $500 and keep people upset.
There's less work on our part if they come in and there's no land split. If there's a parcel that you own, Steve, and it's you only own 28 acres, but it's zoned ag forestry. It's been zoned ag forestry forever. So you want to build a house on it now, and we're saying, well, you need to pay $500 to have it rezoned. But we don't, that's what they were talking about. Matt was suggesting that we charge like $125 for that, because we don't have to review any surveys. We don't have to check off a lot of the blocks. It just comes to this committee.
Makes sense. So I'm gonna restate this and see if I've got it right. If in the cases like we had earlier where someone splits off acreage or residential, and then they've created the parent parcel now is less than 35 acres. What we're saying right now is it's just $500. We're not gonna try to double that. But if someone wants to rezone, and that's all they're doing, there's no new parcel created, nothing, like we're saying it's 125.
Yes.
Does that sound?
Yes.
I've got it. Is that fair?
And there's no survey required or anything like that, correct? So then it's just almost like a paperwork,
Right.
redo, so,
So that, again, this is something where we need to make sure as we go through the review of the zoning ordinance, we need to make sure it says that. But then, are we still looking at all the fees being in some separate?
Yeah, and that's what we're gonna do. But right now, because it's not been passed or taken, until that takes effect, we're having to charge the $500.
Right. This sounds reasonable to me.
Or in the case of like this one where the one we did today, where we could do them on the same petition, then or the same form, it's. at the
Taking
same
one parcel
time.
and splitting it, yeah.
Yeah,
But
fixing it at that time.
fixing it at that time, that's where,
Did Matt say what they do in Vernon County?
Vernon County doesn't have zoning.
They don't have.
Oh, that's right.
And neither does Crawford, so we can't,
All right. Yes, Elaine.
Yeah, so for example, I know a situation where they're waiting till we get this straightened out, like if you have a business and you're not gonna have the business anymore, but you're selling the property, it's just gonna be a home now. That would just be a one fee, because it's not gonna be commercial, it'll be residential.
Well, yeah, we want to get things into compliance, and if there was no boundaries changing, nothing's changing except parcel number's not changing, nothing, it's just changing the zoning requirements, because when it comes with the split, then we have to pay to have it done on all the splits done, and Julie Lynn's, the real property lister, has to get involved with the tax parcel numbers and all that stuff. This way it's just, okay, nothing's changing except it's going from ag forestry to ag residential, or ag residential to, or so we have some ag forestry that should be, that's the sort of thing And then it'll clear things up. So in the future, if somebody else 20 years from now comes in for a building permit, we can say, oh, it was zoned this, you can only have this, this, and this on the property.
What is the size of the property that you're referring to? How many acres? How many acres is the property you're referring to?
Not many, it looks like one, like just like a small parcel. But, yeah, that was a question I had. And then like some of these properties, when there's three different, like it's forestry, commercial and whatever, if there's more than, would it just cost one fee to get that all together?
Well, that's another thing. We found some parcels that had two zoning districts on it. She found one, I think it was you or Jen found it. There was the whole parcel zoned ag forestry, and for some reason, right over the house, it's one parcel, it's zoned residential too, or like.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that doesn't require rezoning, it's just like. So, but it's, if they're changing the zoning district and there's no parcel changes, then that's when.
It's almost like a reclassifying, basically. It's almost like a different, say, what we call zoning, it's just such a big term. But if you don't need a survey and you're just doing a paperwork, reclassifying, let's say, that's like a different fee or so. But you have to define that clearly. What is that? And
right.
That's the challenge, I think, to say, how do we clearly delineate the different.
And that's one thing too, like this will get us by until we can go through the zoning ordinance and the fee schedule gets set. So we can clearly define that part of it. That's been our issue. It's everything's this one and the number 15. Those on the agenda, those are the two things that there's not clarity in the ordinance. So that's what we wanna, if there's too much muddy stuff that we're trying to, she and I and Jen are trying to go through.
So with the ones that are, if it's just zoned over the house, but the rest of the parcel is zoned differently, is that another, would we charge them or would we just be doing that? Like would we be charging them the 125 for that? Or?
I think that would be a determination that you all would have to make based on what you research and what the requirements are. I don't know that you can just say that off the cuff right now
No.
until you have more information.
And then who made the mistake? It sounds like a mistake was made and how, if that's on us, then,
Yeah.
maybe we should eat that or whatever,
Yeah.
so.
As long as we try to get things consistent and fair.
Correct.
And that's what we're working towards. It's gonna be it's gonna be a painful process for a while.
Working on it, Ray. Okay, so I need a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll make a motion.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Set the fee at 125. Oh, here we go. You want to give us the lowdown on the septic complaints?
So basically, we've had 5 people raise concerns about, they don't believe that their system is being properly inspected or pumped because they're not home. And so then some of them have had to hire a second company. And when that company comes out, they'll end up actually pumping it after the other one says it's already been pumped. So we've just been seeing an issue. And we just wanted to address it to the committee to see if there's anything that we could do. I did reach out to other counties and it was Sauk County and Iowa County that got back to me and said, it's not necessarily our issue as the government, but it's more so a property and company dispute that we technically don't need to be involved in. So I've had several different aspects where it's, yes, we get involved or no, we don't. And I just kind of want to see what everyone else kind of thought and if
Has
we.
Dad Cap been notified?
No, no, that is, this is not, that is
It's
nothing.
not a Dad Cap, not a consumer protection thing?
No,
So then
There's
who
no-
would be the?
so the DNR, I believe, regulates the pumper's license. So like, for instance, with master plumbers, that's regulated by, DSPS, so Department Safety
Professional services.
Services, yeah. And with that, say someone had an issue with a master plumber, like if I was having an issue with one that I work with, you can submit complaints of some sort, and then they can review them, and if they get so many, then their license may get revoked. I'm not sure if the DNR does that as well, or if that's,
Find out, please.
yeah, I mean, that was something I needed to look into. I've just been waiting for, Jeff Brubaker's response from DSPS.
Is there any thing on the county website or any of our forms that lists recommended septic people?
We just they list
Who offers a service?
who offers a service.
Right.
So,
And are they on, does this have to get on that list?
yeah, but, you know, one of the things is on the sheet, it says landowner signature, that's what she was finding out too, if other counties require the landowner signature, how we handle it, that sort of thing.
So other counties don't require it, the landowner signatures. Because after we saw the issue, I thought, well, maybe if we had on the form that it's required and that we won't accept it without the landowner signature. So then that's when I reached out to other counties, and that's when they told me that they don't require it at all.
Well,
So,
this is more than whether there's a signature, it's the fact that apparently this company is not doing what they say they're doing.
Well, some people say they are, we don't know. I mean,
That's
we're,
why I said
It sounds
apparently.
like there's enough evidence that, you know.
well, you know, they bring in a lot, so 5 out of this many, we don't know. It's something, you know, we just want to make you aware that we've had some and how we want us to handle things when it comes to those, or.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
my question when the ladies brought this to me was, are we obligated to list them as a provider?
That's what I was getting at.
Because if there are people complaining, saying the work isn't being done, and they are able to confirm it by bringing in an additional company after the fact that's stating whatever work they billed you for wasn't done. And this has happened on more than one occasion to the result that people don't want to pay them because they know the work wasn't done because they had to bring in another company to actually do the work. And it also appears as though they're not working, they're not complying with the wishes of the customer, which we can't regulate that. I mean, again, that's a private business and private landowner issue. But do we as the county want to have them on a recommended list when we're getting complaints like this? And people are concerned that they're not doing the work that they're stating they're doing. And they're also not, you know, if a homeowner wants to be home, when they come to verify that they're doing the work and they're not, you know, complying with that, they're just showing up whenever, and then people can't prove whether or not the work's been done. You know, that's kind of a web that's being weaved. And although we're outside the purview of it, if we're recommending this company, then it's almost like we're endorsing them as a good provider, and are they? So that was my concern when they came to me with it, is do we want the county to be putting this? And then I said, are we required to list everyone though? Is there some mandatory requirement that we list all businesses that operate and function in this capacity? I don't believe there is a requirement of that. There's a requirement, I think, that we have the list, but I mean, if we have issues with the performance of a company, or do we send them a letter and state, you know, due to several complaints, we're no longer going to be recommending your company? I don't know. But
Have we contacted them and talked to them about the concerns? What do they say?
I don't believe we've, contacted them personally about the concerns. I've just mentioned to the 2 companies we get the most from that we might like to see the property owner's signatures just to help us.
How many pumpers are on our form? How many?
I don't know how many total are on the form. I know the two that we get the most from is, Richland Septic and Boaz Sunrise.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman.
My name is David Hood. I own Richland Septic operate. You know, and zoning office is all changing things, and that's great. I think you're doing a good job, and thanks for contact us. But the sheet that you guys sent out, which is mandated by the state, it says right in there, if this tank is not over a third full, you do not have to be pumped at that time. Anybody that's got a private septic has seen that. You read it, thanks. So the thing with it is if it's high or if it's my competitor, I don't know, it doesn't make any difference. But there's times that we go out there and if it's a single person or especially if it is a recreational property, and if they use much, we do that. First thing we do is we go to a tank, we open it up. If there's quite a bit of solids, floatable solids on the top, we automatically pump. But if there's not, then we go back to the truck and we get a sludge judge. It's just basically it's a piece of PVC tubing. It's got a ball in the end. So when you stick it in there and you give it a little tap, it seals it and you bring it up and it gives you a standard of it. You know, and we're all trained by the DNR and things or other places, you know. What I meant by that was this plumber's got a different standard that they can do it. Kathy mentioned about going for her pots. She can do it and things. But, you know, the thing with it is when we run our business from 10-hour days and stuff, it's awful hard to have the property owners there at the same time. It just doesn't happen. Very seldom is the property owner there when we're able to pump. You know, and you talk about a signature, other counties, they don't require signatures. Because ideal, I assume the reason for the signature is that the property owner is proven the report. I assume that's what you're thinking. Well, they're never there, and if you ask them to leave the form out, they never sign it, and if they do sign it, they're signing it before we fill it out. And I think they'll contest a lot of property owners. We actually take the forms with us, and then we bring them in and pay for the $25 fee as it is today and things. But, you know, if a pumper, I'm not gonna put mine, what I found out is happening is that, I'm not gonna put my competitor under the bus or anything like that. But if I go out there, they say, well, we want it pumped. Well, if they tell me when they call that they want it pumped, that's the service I do. But most people are saying, hey, I got this sheet from the county. I need to get it taken care of. Take care of it. Well, I try to do the best I can because I can save them. I don't have disposal fees or other things. I can save them $100 to $150 easily by just doing the inspection, but it's required. So, I mean, I'm really happy. I'm not doubting that at all. And I might even be on the list. I don't know for sure.
Yeah, you are.
But that's, I'm not gonna put anybody, I'm not gonna put my competitor, anyone under the bus. They're providing service and do a good job, but it's just that, I hope you understand, some people, I don't know if they understand everything that says on that sheet. You know, if they say they pump that septic, I'm gonna pump. That's all there is to it. And there's times I pump it and it's just plain water. I mean, human pathogens and stuff like that, and don't get me wrong, but there's not a whole lot of
solids
in it. It does not need to be required to be pumped. And the other thing is when you do that, when you do the sludge, you gotta kind of speculate, okay, it's a 3-year report, so is this septic gonna, for me, I mean, years ago, there wasn't many problems because to be honest, we started pumping, we pumped for years, we just pumped them because that's kind of what the state wanted. Well, and then there was companies that come in, not so much here, but they don't even own a pump truck. They send out notices and, well, that's the truth, but they send out notices and I can show you forms. It's more in Iowa County and Sauk County because they're closer to Madison. And they send out a couple of college kids in Priuses and they do their sludge judge and they say, you don't need to be pumped. And they don't even own a truck, so they could pump it if it does need to be. But it's just that, I hope you can get a handle on and make it like, but you're gonna get certain complaints.
Right.
And I really don't know the answer. I really don't. But all I'm getting at is as my business, I try to treat the property owner for what they want and the very best that I can do for them.
And I was involved with the last mail out, but I'm wondering, do you know, Katrina, do we have a letter that goes out with those? The 3 years?
I don't think so. I think Jen just puts,
Yeah, we haven't
Form.
started sending out yet. have we?
but so we had, I think, over 200 that did not get their stuff back into us. So that goes out with a letter, and it's just letter on the front, form on the back. Just the letter stating, you need to return this form. I don't remember what day we chose. I think it was December. And that they owe us the $50 instead of 25, because it's late.
But what I was trying to say was, you know, maybe when we send out those inspection forms to the landowner saying, you know, just a little breakdown, you know, every 3 years it has to be inspected. It doesn't necessarily have to be pumped unless it's the third rule, but you really need to communicate with whoever you're having do the job. You know, I don't know how to say it, but just, it's your responsibility to work with the pumper, and you and the pumper.
I had one lady, you know, she said, well, she goes, it's been pumped every year, or every 3 years, excuse me. And I said, okay, you know, but I mean, the form states right there that, I mean, that's one of the first things on it. It does not need to be, and that's what, that one, she might even call. I assume maybe she did, and that's fine. But I still did my job compared to what the DNR license is saying, and I'm treating the customer to the best of my ability, not to just be pumping if it doesn't need to be.
And I'm just wondering if a letter, us clarifying to the landowner, it doesn't necessarily have to be pumped every 3 years, it has to be inspected every 3 years. Unless it's above this amount, this is I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there now.
No, it sounds like one thing that would help is to reword it if it needs it, to make it clear to them that they shouldn't assume it's gonna get pumped, that it only pumped if it's needed. If the wording doesn't make that clear, then we could help the situation by doing that.
I have a feeling most people, when they get that, they're gonna contact whoever to come, and they're gonna expect them to know whether it needs to be pumped and to do the inspection. So to me, if I called somebody and said, hey, I got this letter, please take care of it, that would mean pump it if it needs it. And most people are gonna say that, pump it if it needs it.
But not everyone.
Yeah.
They may read it and say, oh, I have to have it pumped.
You're saying that you feel like
I think the wording.
they feel like they have to have it pumped because
Right.
of the notification.
But we don't know, and I'm not out at the site, she's not out at the site, so we don't know what
Yeah.
was in there.
Do you have a copy of what they received? You didn't bring one?
It is
I do
just
know
the
that.
form. There's no letter, because we just had ours done, our 3-year this summer. And it's just a form, and you get flyers in the mail from companies that say, hey, we'll take care of you. And as a landowner, I'm glad I'm here because I've never read the form. It's Greek to me. I'm like, okay, trust the business owner. I call and say, I got my 3-year thing, please come take care of us. And the best intention is I am there. This year it didn't work out. We had an emergency, but I've been there one time and it still means nothing to me. They're like, this. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, sure. But
That's why I was just wondering if we, and I'm not saying that they were wrong, the people who filed complaints were wrong, but just that maybe we make it clearer to them and like a short letter. This is what this pumping report means. It is an inspection, blah, blah, blah. And we could figure out the wording, but just a letter to go with the form.
Well, did you say you have not talked to Richland Septic, or you have?
The only thing I had done was invited him today.
Has he read these reports?
He's sitting right over there.
Oh, Dave.
No,
No.
I've read
It's
this.
hard for me to know how this is all going if he hasn't read what we had
Well, it's-
access to.
They're online as well.
Pardon?
This is part of the package, so it would be online.
How can he defend himself or
But he may not have seen
explain it if he has?
Yeah.
True, true.
No, it was not a defense thing. We
This-
just wanna,
it's not-
we wanna let you know we did get complaints. I think that's what Katrina wanna do, and then how do we handle in the future? What do we wanna do going forward?
I have a couple of questions. One question is, you stated that there's like 200 that didn't get returned on time. Are all of the pumpers turning those forms in timely? And how often are they supposed to turn them in?
I don't know how often they're required to turn them in. I don't think we
Says-
have it, you know,
Doesn't it say
Required, but
on
It used to be in the paper when they.
Well, they're due like by August 15th or whatever the date is, but if they come and pump July 1st, when do they turn them in and when are they required to turn them in? I guess that's what.
They were required to turn by August 15th.
Okay, so they,
And Dave and the two we work mainly with, and they usually have their stuff in, or let us know they're coming in. Everything's been signed, we'll bring them in, you know.
okay, so they could literally start pumping in April and keep a whole stack of them and turn them into you on April 15th.
August 15th.
I'm sorry, August 15th.
They can.
That seems like they should turn them in more timely.
Well, and then they do, like, they'll come bring them in batches. Dave will bring them in batches, Ron Fogel will bring them in batches. They get, so many and they bring them in. They don't bring them all in at this August 15th.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I was saying, if we did do like a signature requirement, then maybe, they do their thing, they leave the form for the property owner and then they can sign it and return it to us personally.
Yeah, and when I had mine pumped a couple of years ago, same thing, that's what they say. You want us to turn it in or you can certainly turn it in. So, but I've got to guess, most landowners aren't going to be home, like she's stating, a lot of times they're not home, they're working. So they'd either have to take a day off work or have somebody else there for them, which is still not necessarily the landowner. So requiring a landowner's signature or an owner's signature, I think would be putting a burden on the owners.
Got a couple of questions. I have a septic system. I get the notice every 3 years. I usually just go ahead and tell them to pump it. And I get charged for the pumping. Of course, I'm usually home. I don't see why the county should be listing any providers on the form. I mean, you get this, you go out and find a septic pumper and you get it done. I've been using the same one. I think it is. For the past, since I built my house in 2007.
So if he told you to pump it though, and it doesn't need it, you still wouldn't.
No.
You're gonna do what he said.
If I told him to pump it.
Yes, it tells me to pump. He's a prime example by himself. And knows the wastewater industry better than I do. And his past careers and stuff, but.
36 years.
He probably knows that deep down, you probably know it doesn't need pumped by the standard on the sheet.
Oh, yeah.
Right, but some people just want it to be. Well, then, if I don't do it, and then they call you folks and say, hey, what happened? Well, I'm still doing it by what my license says.
Right. So maybe right now it's on the county website. We have the list of pumpers. And we ask MIS to take that off.
But then if we take that off, we would be needing to
You're getting-
take off everything. We'd have to take off soil testers, plumbers, uniform dwelling code inspectors.
Then I
So-
think you're gonna get questions on who do I call?
And that's just gonna,
If they
that's
don't
why
get,
they put
if
them
they
up
don't
in-
get 6 postcards.
That's my question. Is there some requirement that we do that?
I think they did it so that we don't have to answer every phone call telling you this is who you should contact. Cause we're not technically supposed to be required or recommending. We're just putting up people that have, said, given consent that we can put their names out there. Cause I reached out to, surveyors asking if they would like their stuff public. And I mean, out of all of the ones that Todd contacted, I only got, I think, 8 or 10 that want their stuff out there. So it's really just their choice. So if he wants his stuff out for that promotion, then we can do that.
As a landowner, I don't know, if I had an issue, I'd call Dave. I don't know why they're calling the county.
Well,
Get a notice.
yeah,
Yeah,
the difference is in the complaints that we've got is that they are saying that they got a bill saying it was pumped, but it wasn't.
But that's with him, not with you.
Right, but
I don't understand why they're.
I believe that it's because we're making this recommendation, it's on our, and they're taking it as us making a recommendation because we have this listing and they want us to be aware that they're having issues with said business, whether it's this one or another one. And I think that's why the complaints are coming, is because well, you've got this on your website, you're saying contact this business. I agree with you. I think it's between the person and the
Yep.
business, not really anything to do with us as a county.
I also think it's the $50.
That's what I was just gonna say,
Mhm.
because some of them are saying that their form didn't get turned in on time, and so now they've gotten a notice that their
Right.
form wasn't turned in and that they owe $50.
Yep.
And so that's where there's 3 or 4 of them that are like that.
I think Richland Septic just adds that fee onto their bill.
Yes, all, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
That's fine, but I guess one question I got is, I mean, I didn't know there was any complaints. I just got a phone call late Friday afternoon, I was in Illinois, and I didn't even know this was a meeting. I'm understanding there was gonna be a discussion about at 9:30, so I just sat around. But if there's complaints, I mean, first of all, as a business owner, small business owner, I wanna know about it. I mean, and if you're in business long enough, you're not gonna make everybody happy every day.
Right.
So I mean, I'd like to know about them so I can address the people, because I mean, everybody that called me personally, I talked to. And as far as I know, they're satisfied, but maybe, I don't even know if it's, I don't know anything, so.
There's a few things going on, but one theme I did see from the letters is some people are having a hard time contacting you. So that's something you might want to look at. And you can look at the letters on our website to see what they're saying.
It's under the meeting packet for natural resources, otherwise,
What's that?
You gotta tell him where we can find those.
yeah.
And it's important that you get this information,
Yeah.
because they're detailed, it's detailed complaints. I mean, this is not random stuff, so.
And second, I think we can do a couple things with the wording on the form. And even have a discussion about whether we still have a signature requirement or not. So let's think about a revision of the form that will better explain the options to people and then make it easier so that they don't have to be there. In other words, maybe we don't need a signature. If you guys think that's reasonable and other counties don't require one, maybe we stop doing that and some of these disconnects won't be so bad. Yes.
Steve, on the form that is sent out, couldn't it just simply state that it's required that the system needs to be inspected every 3 years and pumped if necessary?
And it does kind of say that, but I don't think people,
I think,
people see it as clear. They don't
Yeah.
understand, and I think, that's why I thought if we had a little short letter, maybe it goes on the back of the, we send it out. I don't know, we can talk about it, but just stating it has to be inspected every 3 years.
yes,
And the pumper determines whether, if it's less than a third
Yeah.
solids or whatever it is, I think it's what it is.
yes.
It's not required to get pumped. But
That's
if you
right.
want it pumped, you need to talk to your inspector.
Because I think the inspection costs so much, plus the pumping on top of it. Yes.
Cause you have exposed,
Yeah, and why pump it if you don't have to? I mean, that's the saving to the landowner. I mean, that's a no-brainer, really. I mean, why do it if you don't have to? I mean,
Or if you don't need to.
But like the filters, we still clean, I mean.
sure.
yeah, you have to clean the filter.
Yeah.
I understand, but just.
No.
We got fresh water in the truck, we still clean the filters,
Yes.
no matter what.
Well, that would be part of all the inspection. So they'd be, well, how much is an inspection fee? So if you come out, it's determined you don't need to pump, how much is an inspection fee?
If I'm gonna tell you right now, real general, if you're within like 10 miles of here, it's probably gonna be $150.
Okay.
Versus, because it's $40 1,000 to dump at the wastewater plant. And all the bottle pumpers go to the wastewater plant.
Okay.
So that fee all gets,
Added.
passed on to the customer.
Okay.
So if you pump it, I mean, it's definitely more. I mean, you drag out your hoses and everything else versus if you just do a,
Just an
split
inspection.
judge and clean the filter,
Right.
if it has a filter system.
If you're not familiar with where on our website these letters are, come talk to me after our meeting and I'll show you.
Right, assuming Kathy or somebody can let me know.
Yep.
This is a
You just print copies of.
One more thought that I had as a landowner, if you're concerned as a county about recommending, maybe you put a little disclaimer. These are, area ones, we cannot say if we endorse them or not, but this is who's available. Maybe just put some sort of a disclaimer on, no matter who it is, whether it's septic, soil testing, or anyone, just have that blanket release of liability for yourselves, like, this is who's available, we're not endorsing any.
Right.
We're just helping you find.
Right, and Mr. Chair, I think this is another scenario where we can give them all the information in the world. They have to read it, they have to ask questions if they don't understand it. Again, I mean, realistically, this is a situation, again, between a private landowner and a private business. And so I think the county needs to make sure that we're staying in our own lane on this and saying, this really has nothing to do with us. We are here. I like the disclaimer idea. This is not a recommendation, merely a listing of those who have agreed to be posted on the website, period. So it's saying we're not endorsing, we're not liable, we're not whatever. And I think in the future, then if we get formal complaints, we just say, we're sorry, those complaints are not for us. Those need to go to the business. And that way we stay out of that whole realm. Because again, I mean, it's not ours to take on when it's a private business and a private landowner.
That's a good summary. Let's go on to number 15. All right, so now, let's see, it's amendment to Richland County zoning ordinance number 5.
And basically in the ag forestry district, it says residences, but it doesn't say how many. Is it 1? Is it 10 that can go on the property? And so we've had some, I know Katina's been dealing with, trying to figure out what to do. So she talked with Mr. Wendell. And so the ordinance will be amended to say up to 2 farm residences to be on a ag forestry district.
What prompted this to come up? Why are
So
we?
people that own like a 40-acre parcel. For example, there's one where there's a trailer home on it. And the lady is relatively old and her son, I think, and wife are moving back to the area and would like to just live on that property with her. And so they asked if it was okay if there were to be another dwelling on that parcel. And based on the ordinance, yes, that's fine. You can have 8 out there if you want, because it says residences.
It's plural in our residence?
It's just plural.
in
There's
our
no
ordinance?
limit.
Wow.
Whereas in like residential, it says 1 family dwelling. So that's where the concern was raised, and I thought it needed to be changed because people are gonna come in and just throw houses all over their property if they really want to. And create subdivisions that could make people angry. A lot of people don't want that.
Right, but even if we preclude that, we're still creating a specific precedent that now everybody will find out, oh, I can build another house on my property.
Well, they still, I don't know.
I mean, they could anyway.
They could anyway. They could-
Based on-
Right now, they could have a 40-acre parcel, they could have 10 houses, you know? And this way, we're saying, okay, on a 40-acre parcel, you can have 2, you can't have 10. It's just kind of clarifying, that's where some of the, makes it easier for us if we know, is there a limit? Because other districts, there are limits, and this one, there's none, and it's like,
Well, I'll ask the same question I always ask. What are other counties doing? In other words, the 35 acre is a statewide thing, but I'm just curious what the ordinances in other counties have done to make sure that's clear. I'm fine with going to 2, but I'm also curious what other counties are doing.
I have not asked about that one.
Oh, they're doing it.
well, they don't have zoning. They ain't crap. So it'd be like, around here, it'd be Iowa and Sauk would be the 2 counties and Grant.
What does Ithaca allow for homes on a 40-acre parcel?
Well, what about, is there a minimum requirement that you have to have so many acres to build a house, basically? There's no minimum.
You have to have a minimum number of
Well,
acres to
I'm just-
build, at least in Ithaca.
Well, I don't know that answer, so.
We do require the 2 acres
2
for
acres,
residential,
basically.
but then people can go get a variance and they can have as little as 0.4, so.
0.4 is the minimum.
With the bear.
No, I mean, they could have 0.2. I mean, there's all these little parcels along like the Wisconsin River that people have been wanting to purchase and build on. And I tell them that they need to get a variance through the Board of Adjustments, and some people want to, some people don't want to pay and do it, so then they just don't buy it. But, I mean, there should be a minimum, because I mean, you know, 0.2 acres, that's really tiny. 0.4 acres, I think that's pretty small.
But, you know, and then depending where it is, if it's in, you know, small town or whatever, or, you know what I mean, it's different depending if you're in a rural area or in a more of a small town or whatever. It's all different depending where you are, basically.
And I think that's kind of what they were doing before with having the residential 1 versus residential 2. Keeping, I think it was to have one of them for areas where it could be a subdivision type of deal where it's less than 2 acres.
So do you have, Michelle?
We don't have a set number. It just says like single family dwelling, garage, duplex, whatever. But then in there, it says so many feet between buildings. That's where the limit would come in for us. Like if you're looking at like a 5-acre thing, 5-acre parcel, you have to have enough space between your buildings. So you can't just come boop, 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 Monopoly house. I mean, you have to have the feet, the. setback.
And to the property line.
Yes, from buildings and property
Right.
lines, we have setback.
Another question. Let's say we were to pass this today. Isn't this, I mean, we're talking about doing a major rewrite on the whole ordinance, hopefully in the next month or two. Does this need to be done now, or can it just be rolled in with all that stuff we're getting ready to do anyway?
I mean, there's been more than one. There was another couple that
So
wanted.
it is coming up a lot.
It does. That's why.
This would fix it until the main fix.
Right.
I guess. This doesn't reference, any of the different zoning districts.
Well,
It just is a blanket statement.
No, if you look at it, order, for that sentence, that section 2.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It's referencing the actual ordinance.
Say all other districts have a limit and this is the only district that doesn't?
Yes.
Then wouldn't it make sense, I'm not part of your board, but wouldn't it make sense
To
to make
list-
that district match what your other districts are?
I think
Or to
because,
reference the name of it in here.
I think because it's a larger amount of
Oh,
space.
okay.
So like
So
we can have the
bigger.
40 acres and.
So like, you had 40 acres and you have your 40 and you have your house and your son is gonna farm with you and he wants to put a house up. Well, like, well, right out here, you know, he had a house and then his son was going to farm with him and so they built a second house on there. You know, but we did, you know, but that's why it's like different because a lot of times they're farming together. That's the purpose of
So
it.
it's a district that has more.
Mr. McKee's trying to adhere to Robert's rules and get the attention of the chair so he can talk.
Okay. If this is in the country, don't they have to have so much land for septic system?
We've
You don't?
asked, they should, but the state does not require a certain amount of land.
Because you can replace a septic in the same spot.
Well, of course, septic system has to be approved too. So
Right.
if-
If they don't, then they'll have to buy land next to them to
Yeah,
make it work.
and if they're gonna use the existing septic system, that's not designed for a second.
Correct.
Okay, that's answered my question.
And that's when you can have an affidavit for flows and loads. So for example, the one lady in the main house that's the system is built for 3 bedrooms. So by having a second house, if there's only 2 people in there, that's 3 people total. That system will provide for all 3 of those people. And on the deed, then there'll be a document stating that this system is only built for 3 bedrooms, a total of 6 people. So between the 2 houses, there can only be 6 people then.
All right, so entertain a motion to approve this ordinance.
Mr. Chair, I have one last question. So what actual zoning district would this be changing for?
It's for the egg,
So
Which is
couldn't it
section-
just say egg forestry in here?
This is what Mr. Wendell typed up.
Okay.
So that section is actually,
It's referenced there, but it just is strange that to me that it's not listed in the ordinance itself. I mean, I'm sorry, yeah, just listed in here where it says change that section. I don't know.
I mean, that's
Or
what
the
the
top.
section 2C1B3 is, so.
Okay.
That's what he wrote for us.
we went by him, so. But we can ask him if he wants to change.
Is it different for the fee one?
Is it different for what?
The fee one, does it state the section or does it?
Okay, now I'll entertain a motion to approve
There was a
this ordinance.
breaker.
That's for two, right?
Mm-hmm.
Two.
It just says to cite the
Make that
ordinance.
All right, Keith's made the motion. Was there a second? Right, we got a second. Now, is there any more discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Any opposed? Okay,
Mr. Chair, if I may, just as a comment on the section, I'm wondering if Attorney Wendell's referencing the draft code of ordinances that you folks will be adopting in October at the meeting. So we did receive the ordinances have been codified, all the county ordinances have been codified, which would include a variation of zoning ordinance number 5. So I haven't checked that because I actually just received the printed copy of that Thursday at about 3 o'clock and didn't have time to open it up much farther than opening the box to see what it was. So I'm wondering if that section of the code is actually referring to the county's codified code of ordinances.
I doubt it, I'm sure
It's
it's
just the regular.
It's a regular
I'm gonna try to marry them together, because I know, remember, all these ordinances are going to be changing, they're not gonna be ordinance 76-1.
Yep.
It's gonna be a real, it's a real thing now. So anyway, remember, just going forward, these ordinances numbers are gonna be totally different than what you've seen before.
So that's what, this, we may want to mention and maybe before it goes to the county board, it should be, if amended, or I don't know how, we'll have to talk to.
We will work through the process of amending any ordinances beyond what's adopted in executive and finance. We'll have a look at that tomorrow. And then anything beyond that, there will actually be more of a more streamlined process in how we amend the code of ordinances, because it's not going to be as wishy-washy as it was before the NISO resolution. It's going to be different.
can't wait. All right, so agenda item number 16, correspondence. No correspondence. Future agenda items. The future agenda items.
Do you want us to bring, this more, well, we probably should have a report on the farmland preservation, not report, discussion on, and possible decision on the, certificate of compliance, farmland preservation certificate of compliance. Bring that in to talk about what you guys want to do.
You'll have that ready for, yeah, sure, go ahead, put it on there. Anything else?
Well, like I said, I thought I sent it last month, but I haven't heard anything. I resent it to just now to, Mr. Attorney Wendell about the,
STR?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chair, I have 4 that I've taken from the meeting. We have 7E, which would be the Halverson one. We'll talk about that one next month, right? We need to bring that back. And then we have 7G, which was the Perkins conditional use permit. We need to review that next month. I also have item number 9, which is the short-term rental ordinance, which you just mentioned. And then item number 10, the future land use
yeah.
maps. We should probably talk about that as well next month.
yeah, and I'll try to get a hold of Dan again, because I already sent him an email and sent him him the agenda, so
I just
he knew about it.
You have a full plate already.
Already. All right, motion to adjourn from anyone?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McKee. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Just interesting in listening.